Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Be the Inspired You, Identifying and Owning Personal Skills for Professional Success, brought to us by the FPSA Women Alliance Network. Diane Wolf was going to be opening this. She unfortunately just dropped off. My name is Elena Sierra, and I'm going to do some self-promotion real quick about the FPSA Women Alliance Network. Our network strives to provide knowledge and strategies for members to succeed in their current positions, as well as motivate and inspire them to take their career to the next level. Through education and networking, the network empowers its members to achieve both professional and personal success, and to increase employment of women in the food and beverage processing industry. Let me hand this off to Diane now. She's back on.
Thank you, Elena, and welcome everyone. Getting used to the working from home, your internet goes down because the kids all just log back in for their 2 o'clock class. So welcome, thank you for joining us. She did tell you a little bit about our Women's Alliance Network. I'm a founding member of that network and also chair of our professional development group, which is the sponsor for today's event. Before I tell you a little bit more about Rahkel Shelton, our terrific presenter for today, I did want to remind everyone that these webinars are recorded and they're accessible on the FPSA website, so you can use it anytime you might choose to, for groups, for small groups, for maybe your mentoring circles. I also wanted to let you know we will be taking questions. So go ahead and use that question chat box, and you can put questions in throughout Rahkel's presentation, and we will take them at the end. So let me tell you a little bit about our presenter today. Rahkel is an author. She's a workplace peace advocate, a speaker, and an inspiration enthusiast. She's had over 12 years working in the corporate career in roles with CNN, Warner Media, WGN, iHeartMedia, and Fox Chicago News. She has a master's degree in media communications and a BA in radio, TV, and film. And she's passionate about serving, inspiring, and helping individuals find harmony and strategy to thrive in and out of the workplace. Her latest book, which I know she's going to talk to you a little bit about and has some extracts from, is called WUSA. And it's a survival guide for women of color working in the corporate world. And it was featured on WGN, Huffington Post, and Forbes. So we're really fortunate and delighted to have Rahkel with us today. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to her, and she's going to take you through her presentation. And remember, put questions in, and we will have a dialogue at the end. Rahkel, thank you for being here, and we're ready for you to present. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Diane, and thank you, Elena. And I just wanted to thank the Women's Alliance Network for having me here. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to get started. My screen is shared. We should be good to go. Let's get started. You will occasionally see me look into the camera, and then I'll reference the presentation. So if I'm here and there, just bear with me. I want to make sure that I am providing adequate information to you all. Okay, so this is the Be the Inspired You, Identifying and Owning Personal Skills for Professional Success workshop. Again, thank you to FPSA Women's Alliance Network for having me here, and let's dive right in. So Diane, you did a great job with the introduction, but I'm going to echo just a little bit of that. Let's hop into who I am. I am newly married, so it's Rahkel Shelton Robertson. I am getting used to saying that and making sure that I own that last name. I consider myself an inspiration enthusiast, a workplace peace advocate, and an author. Like Diane mentioned, I'm very passionate about serving and inspiring others, and just providing harmony and strategy for the workplace, in and out of the workplace. I have over 12 plus years of corporate experience working for entities such as Fox Chicago News, Warner Media, formerly Turner Broadcast System, Inc., CNN, and the master's is in radio, television, film, the bachelor's, and the master's is in media communications and training. All right. So here is WUSA. WUSA is my current book. It is available on Amazon. It's a survival guide for women of color working in corporate, but it's not limited to the corporate arena, and it's not limited to women of color. It is just highlighting my experience working in corporate, but it's an awesome read and a strategy guide for maintaining your confidence, cool, and your peace of mind in the workplace. We all know that just dealing in the workplace, at times you need to have a woosah, which speaks to resetting and just kind of centering yourself to be the best version of you in the workplace. So you ladies are in great company. Here are a couple of partnerships that I have had and features. Again, I've been featured Fox Chicago News, WGN. I've done a presentation just like this at CNN and at Turner, Clark Atlanta School of Business, the University of West Georgia, Chicago Public Schools. So again, I'm just very passionate about making this thing happen and just inspiring individuals. Okay, so let's go over a little in depth of Be the Inspired You. So I am the CEO of Be the Inspired You, which is a motivational lifestyle brand. It's my personal mantra and motivational lifestyle brand created to challenge individuals to be and bring their absolute best version of themselves in and out of the workplace. So you're probably thinking, okay, so what is this inspired version of you? What is Be the Inspired You? Let's dive a little bit deeper. So here's the backstory. Be the Inspired You, in 2017, I was faced with like some really crazy adversity. I lost 4 of the closest people in my entire life, and all under 8 months. As a result of one of the deaths, I took in 2 children, and I became an instant single mom. And so there I was battling grief, stress of being an instant mom. I didn't have any children, so enrolling them in school and making sure that their health and well-being is taken care of. I'm sure the mothers on the line know exactly what I'm referring to. And then the workplace, right? So we have personal stress, and just life that happens. And I had the workplace things to kind of deal with. So all of that produced a bit of anxiety. And I found myself in an unfamiliar place dealing with clinical depression. And I realized, like, through the process of all of that, first I had to change my mind and to be very realistic about how I felt and where I was. And I still had to show up daily. Just like many of you, I know you're navigating through this pandemic, navigating through issues and different things in life, and we still have to be present no matter what, right? So it's like, okay, how do we do that? And we'll hop into quite a bit of that in today's presentation. So through the course of that, of all of that stuff that I went through, navigating the personal and the professional, I learned that intentional development and mindfulness and affirmations, those are seeds for success. When you think about it, that intentional development, it's not going to come knocking at your door. You have to be very intentional about your growth and your development, right? Mindfulness, being in tune with how you feel and where you are with things, and affirmations, just the positive, hey, I can do this. I will accomplish this. I am greater than that. Those are seeds. And what do we do with seeds? We plant them, right? I realized through all of that craziness that intentional development, mindfulness, and affirmations are seeds for success. And when they're planted and acted upon and watered frequently, your mindset is going to evolve. That's going to produce changes in behaviors and positive beliefs, a harvest of positive beliefs and manifestation. We're in this wave where everyone's like, oh, I'm going to manifest this, I'm going to manifest that. But if you are not putting intentional if you're not intentional about your development, if you're not watering it and not taking action, there's no way to manifest. So I also learned that if you're no good privately, which is the personal, you can't win professionally. And so Be the Inspired You was born. So that is the backstory of Be the Inspired You. And I really wanted to figure out, how can I merge the mindset, the personal skills in order to gain professional success? So who is the inspired version of you? I'm so glad you asked. The inspired version of you is, what does that look like? It's you following through with intentions. taking decisive action, setting goals, serving and supporting others, being assertive, managing your time and resources efficiently, self-aware and being confident, vulnerable and content, but also striving. That inspired you is the you that you were created to be. Listen, I truly believe that there's you and then there's an inspired version of you. And at the end of this presentation, my goal is to really help stimulate that inspired version of you, which is owning professional power, which we'll get into a little bit later. But so that's the premise, the backstory of Be to Inspire You. And I love to share that because it's just very important. So let's hop into a little bit of housekeeping. We're in a digital world. I'm sure you ladies are tired of all of these different webinars and, it can be mundane. So I will say that the best way to make webinars and workshop presentations in the virtual world exciting is to interact. So interact is enjoyment. So I, Elena, and Diane will check the chat every now and again. If something really resonates with you, give me a yes, I get it, that's me, an amen. And then I'll ask a couple questions as well to try to make it as interactive as possible. So have your pen and paper handy. There will be quite a few good nuggets of content for you to really to grasp and to participate. Those are the housekeeping rules. That's all I ask of you today. So let's hop in. Before we really dive in, I want to ask a couple questions. I want to find out who's here. How are you feeling? What is your energy like? What have you learned about yourself in the quarantine? You don't have to answer all 3 questions, but whatever you feel most comfortable and led to answer, drop it in the chat. I want to know how you're feeling, how's your energy, and something that you've learned about yourself during the quarantine. We'll take a few moments, and I'm going to pull up the chat features just to see who's here. Low energy. Okay, totally understand. It happens, and thank you for being very honest. Okay. I don't see much in the chat, but as you feel it, just drop it in. I'll make sure to circle back to it. And okay, neat people. Yes, I think during this time, it's just a tricky space for all of us. The need of connectivity is at an all-time high. The need for connectivity is at an all-time high. Really miss traveling and stimulation. Totally, totally. I am with you, my sister. This is that time. So I'm going to proceed, but I will keep my eye on this chat. And Diane and Elena, if I missed anything, feel free to just kind of point that. I learned that since I am such an introvert, I thrive in this. Ooh, that's a really good one. Introverts, yes. So it's funny because I keep hearing these memes that extroverts are losing their mind. So I didn't really give too much thought to the introverts. So this is a time for people that are more introverted to thrive and get things accomplished because the anxiety of not having to connect and be around people. So that's really interesting. Thank you so much for sharing. Let's dive into what we're going to grasp in this workshop. So we are going to talk about mindset and mindfulness. We're talking about professional and effective people, identifying and owning personal strengths. Because again, everything is built upon each other where we are really assessing that personal because once you can identify and own and really own your personal skills, that is going to breed that professional success, and it's going to encourage you to be the inspired version of yourself and to walk into your professional power. Okay, we're going to talk about work productivity strategies, productive collaborations, effective teamwork, and owning professional power and that professional success. If you are ready, please in the chat say, hey, I'm ready, let's do this. I can't hear or see you all, but that energy is infectious and I feel it if I get it. So just drop me notes in the chat. That's going to help it be much more engaging. So mindfulness and mindset. One of my favorite proverbs is, as a man thinketh, so is he. And essentially that speaks to whatever you think, that's who you are. You are obtaining or grasping, what you think. It's all about your mindset. So let's dive deeper into what mindset actually means. So mindfulness first, we'll hop into mindfulness. Mindfulness is the essential human ability, and this is a Raquel Shelton Robertson definition, just kind of like what I've learned and gathered. It's the essential human ability of frustration with the lockdown, miss going places and connecting with friends, totally. So listen to this part about mindset and mindfulness. Is going to help you as best as possible to navigate through that. It's the essential human ability to be fully present and aware of where we are, how we're feeling, and what we're doing, and not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going around us. That is mindfulness. And then there's mindset. So the mindset is basically your philosophy on life. It's a set of assumptions, methods, or notions held by an individual. A mindset can be seen as your worldview. So we know what mindset and mindfulness is within the context of identifying and owning those personal skills. Let's dive deeper. So there are two types of mindset. And at the end of this presentation, I hope to inspire and encourage you to operate in a growth mindset. If you're already there, kudos to you, shout out to you. Keep it rolling, keep it going. So that fixed mindset, it is talent and intelligence are fixed at birth. It is what it is. People with the fixed mindset, they go through life seeing things. It is what it is, right? And the growth mindset speaks to talent and intelligence can be developed and it can grow. So that is, it is what it is until I do something about it. That is a growth mindset. And that is the goal for us to transition over into a growth mindset, or to, as best as possible, operate within a growth mindset. So you're probably thinking, okay, how do I gain a growth mindset? What are some strategies on that? So here are a couple things that I found very helpful with wrangling my personal skills. You can see your challenges as opportunities. So when you're faced with something new, see it as an opportunity. What can I gain from this? How could I grow in this area? Surround yourself with growth-minded people and different people. That's really going to force you to level up, and it's going to inspire you to be on your toes, to keep things going. The more you surround yourself, I know you've probably heard the phrase, birds of a feather flock together, and you being the sum total of those that you surround yourself with. Then you want to value process over result. We've heard that it's about the journey, not the destination. So when we value process over result, that's an opportunity to really be refined and not to be so fixated on the end result. Do things out of your comfort zone. That's definitely going to help you develop a growth mindset. Acknowledge and embrace your faults and imperfections as shortcomings. You can change them, you can acknowledge them, but also put something in to change them. Use affirmations like I can, I will, and identify your purpose. Operating in purposefulness, I don't know if that's a word, but identifying with purpose, that's certainly going to help you just go straight to what it is you need to accomplish, and it's going to help develop that growth mindset. No procrastination. That is a critical thing to having a growth mindset. Okay, so we've talked about the strategies for obtaining a growth mindset. Let's talk about mindful strategies. How can we be mindful, right? We're growing, but being mindful. A couple of things that I found helpful is to be consciously present and set intentions before working. So with this workshop, hey, my intention is to hopefully inspire and to ignite someone in this workshop. I'm consciously present. I'm not thinking about the 50 things that I have to do, although they're there. I'm here and I can give you the best of me because I am intentional. Another strategy is to assess your emotional state. How is your energy? And if you're tired, if you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, that's okay because we're human and those things happen, but we can do something about it. And when you assess your emotional state, that's going to help you figure out your method of attack with your task, your team, your collaboration, or whatever it is that you need to do. Whether hey, I'm hungry, I'm not in the best mood right now, I'm mindful of that. So let me eat something before I connect in this 2 o'clock meeting or whatever the case may be. Another strategy is to take your time and slow down. We are in an instant society, instant culture. Everything is super fast paced. It's go, go, go. But when you take a moment to really slow down, you're not forgetting things, you're intentional, and you can be a bit more mindful. Avoid multitasking. I am so guilty of multitasking. When possible, of course, there are things that's constantly rolling, nothing stops because one thing stopped. But you have to, in order to be mindful, you want to try to avoid multitasking as best as possible and give whatever you're working on your full attention. Check your pulse and like pinch yourself. That is a strategy that has worked for me. And I mean, like for real, like pinch yourself like throughout the day. And that pinch, it may sound a little quirky, but when you feel the sting, it's a reminder that I am breathing, I am here, I am right now. So pinch yourself. Another thing is to the 5x5 rule. And for me, the 5x5 rule is if it's not going to matter in 5 months, do not spend more than 5 minutes worrying about it or agonizing over it. Let that thing go. Let it go, whatever it is. So those are a couple strategies for producing mindfulness. And I gotta say, stop being on autopilot as best as you can. Be in that moment because when you're on autopilot, you're not fully present and you're not awake. You miss opportunities and choices around you. You can't be creative, plan something new, or respond appropriately when you're operating mechanically. So if you feel your brain just thinking, pinch yourself, set alarms on your phone, do something that's going to really provoke you to be present in that moment. So here are a couple of affirmations. I need you to say them with me. I know I can't hear you. If you want to drop it in the chat, I would really encourage you to do that. I will be mindful. I will be mindful. I will be mindful. Being mindful is key to my professional success. And it's actually a key. It's not the entire key, but you understand. Okay, so we talked about growth mindset, mindfulness, mindset strategies. Let's now talk about your personal strengths and your preferred work styles. The goal and the importance in that is to identify and own them. In the chat, there were a couple of handouts that was delivered to you guys, and it's going to give you a couple of resources. So some of the things that I go over in this presentation, it will be in the handouts. And I also included a free gift, 30 affirmations to ignite and jumpstart the inspired version of you. That is in the chat there for you to download. So key characteristics, is that me? I hear something. Okay, I think everyone's muted, but key characteristics for professional, let's see, 10 characteristics for professional people. Let's go over that. This may not apply to any of you because you're already professional, you're moving, you're grooving, you're doing your thing, but that's organized, being accountable, poised, ethical, competent, reliable, having an inviting demeanor, appropriate in appearance. So those are characteristics of professional people. Let's talk about characteristics for personal effectiveness because this is all tied in again. So personal effectiveness is determination, self-confidence, optimism, stress managers, time management, planning, creativity, and self-motivation. So Raquel, why are we talking about those things? Because of course those are combined to help you identify and own the personal skills, right? So here are a couple strategies to identify your personal skills and your strengths. You want to create a list of things that you're naturally good at. Maybe you haven't given that thought. Maybe you're underutilized in different areas, but create a list of things that you're naturally good at. Ask your friends and colleagues for feedback on what they think you're good at, because a lot of times we can't see the forest for the trees. It's us, we operate how we operate, and it's hard to really see ourselves. So when you ask friends or colleagues, hey, what do you think I'm good at? What are some of the things that stand out about me? That's going to help you identify those strengths. What do you enjoy doing? Maybe you've never really given that thought. Maybe you're a mom, a wife, and you're consumed with day-to-day functions of taking care of everyone else. But take a moment and think about, like, what are you good at and what do you enjoy doing? Consider taking a personality quiz. There are so many quizzes out there. Think about your preferred learning style. How do you learn? The more you are in tune with your skills and knowing thyself, the better you can show up in the workplace. Also consider certifications. What classes did you take? What degrees do you have? How can you merge the skills learned from those things into your day-to-day functions? And what routines can you create to cultivate these skills? Is that waking up at 5:30 in the morning? Is that going for a jog and reading a blog in the area of your expertise to gain more knowledge? So what routines can you do or create to cultivate those skills? So those are the personal skills, right? So let's think about your strengths. What are strengths? It's that identifying and owning those personal skills, right? But it's a combination of your natural talents. So that's why it's important for you to know what your talents are. Knowledge and skills applied over time. We need the combination of raw talent and the investment of our time in harnessing this talent to turn it into a strength. I think people tend to forget that you have to invest your time in that raw talent. Serena Williams may be an awesome tennis player, but if she is not out there training and really focusing on how to invest time in that talent, it's going to be hard for it to be a strength. It's going to be hard for her to do what she naturally does, what she does great. So we want to make sure that after we identify those things, we're part owning it by investing your time and to make that a strength. So I did talk about learning styles, and again, in that resource sheet, it's going to be a link for you to click. Very short quizzes and surveys to help you really get a finger on what your learning style might be. Maybe you've never given this thought. There are 8 types of learners. We're going to go over 7 today. You have linguistic learners, logical, intrapersonal, interpersonal, musical, visual, and body kinesthetic learners, right? Someone said procrastination, something I need to work on. Thank you for being honest about that. We're going to talk about procrastination, so it's in this presentation. So back to the type of learning style. Identifying your learning style is really going to be a springboard for you to be very successful in the workplace, right? So if you are a visual learner and someone that's more of a linguistic learner is writing all these words and doing all these fabulous speeches, you've tuned out likely. But for a visual learner, they may work better with pictures. So really identifying what is your learning style and how could you use that to leverage it in the workplace. So we've talked about growth set, mindset, your styles, your personal styles, and your strengths. Let's now talk about work cultures and work styles. So we're diving into this personal side in order to make it work for our professional side. So work cultures. What is a work culture? These, again, this is the Raquel Robertson definition of work culture and work style. Is if you have a definition or a way you would describe that, please drop it in the chat. I am always open, utilizing my growth mindset, and I want to learn from you all as well. So style, that's the method in which and unique way of prioritizing, approaching, and completing tasks when working. Everyone has a different work style. Your boss has a different work style. Your Susie down the hall, she has a different work style. And identifying your style is very important. And then you think about culture, right? The culture is the environment created by a mix of leadership, values, traditions, and beliefs. That is the culture. So the culture and the style, basically the culture, that contributes to our emotional and relational behavior and approach at work. So if you are in a crappy work culture, and we'll dive more into it, which is kind of what Woosah really addresses. It's very difficult at times for you to be and bring the best version of yourself because you're in a crazy culture. But what can you do about it? You can be mindful and wrangle yourself. Please, I would love you to drop something in the chat, just an adjective describing your ideal work environment. Just drop it there. I'll take a look at some of them. As you all are doing that, I will say that I've learned that I am more productive in environments that are transparent, that are collaborative, and that are that I have autonomy. So I can be creative, I can collaborate, and they're transparent. I don't like the political guessing game of who did what in office politics. It just gets really messy. Someone mentioned, Diane mentioned she likes fast-paced environments. That's really good. Feel free to add the environment that your culture that you prefer. In the interim, we will talk about professional interactive with feedback from participants. I love that because it's always helpful for you to know how is it going? How are you doing? And it's an opportunity to grow as well. So collaborative, yes, collaborative. Professional power. So the goal of all of this, like I mentioned, if you don't remember anything else that I've shared today, the goal is for you to operate in professional power, which is the inspired version of you. My microphone is right here. Professional power is identifying and owning your skills, goals, talents, preferred work styles, and operating with emotional intelligence and mental toughness, which speak to those affirmations, and as the inspired version of you. That is it. If I stop the workshop today, that is the goal for you to operate in the professional power. And you do that by having an open mindset, a growth mindset, demonstrating mental toughness, utilizing those skills and strategies, because guess what? Professional power equals professional success. Period. Professional power equals professional success. Okay, so now we're going to think about the things that are like thorns in our side because they just exist in the workplace, in and out of the workplace, they do. So a couple of things that are counterproductive to us being the inspired version of ourselves and operating in professional power, it's toxic environments and people, ineffective leadership, gossip cultures, lack of boundaries, lazy and lackluster colleagues, lack of collaboration, discrimination, cliques and favoritism, work stagnation, stress, health changes. Those are a couple things that are snares that we have to figure out how to navigate around more effectively to be the inspired version of ourselves. So we talked about the counterproductivity. Let's now think about, well, here's a phrase that's in Wusa chapter 4. I basically break it down like it's usually the work atmosphere and environment that forces great workers to quit. It elevates our blood pressure and drives us to happy hours and long hour sessions on our therapy couches. Culture is queen, and even how you show up in the workplace adds to that culture. So culture is queen, and that's from chapter 4, identifying toxicity and taking action. So we know these snares, these thorns in our sides, but we have strategies. So then we think about stress. I want to dive into stress just a little bit deeper, especially in a time of COVID, a national pandemic, um, job uncertainty. Some people are losing their jobs by the minute, day to day, lack of community. Someone put that in the chat, the lack of community, the lack of connectivity, which of course helps to breed anxiety and depression. Low wages, heavy workloads, little to no room to grow, not being acknowledged, lack of work-life balance, and lack of support. Those are common things that leads to stress. And it just happens on a day-to-day basis. Here's a quick stat from the American Institute of Stress. So 80% of workers feel stress on the job. Nearly half say they need help in learning how to manage stress, and 42% say their coworkers need help. So they admit others need help. 25% have felt like screaming or shouting because of job stress. And imagine what these numbers are like now due to COVID. 10% are concerned about individuals at work. They fear they could become violent. That's terrifying, right? And imagine navigating through all that stress and having to still show up and be present. So here are a couple of strategies that I found very helpful for managing your stress. That first thing is to get organized and to prioritize, because if you are ahead of the curve of what your day-to-day will look like, and you're prioritizing things, that is going to help you leaps and bounds. Say no. It's okay. Say no. Let it ring. Let that phone ring if it's not urgent. And there's a difference between urgent and important. Everything's important. Everyone's important. Important just speaks to it needs to be done. Urgent is like right now. Stop what you're doing. Speak up. Speak up. If something does not make, if you're feeling uncomfortable or something's going on, speak up. Advocate for yourself. You can also table it. Can this be done tomorrow? Rome was not built in a day. So can you table it? Can it be done tomorrow? Set those boundaries. Boundaries are very helpful to eliminate stress, minimize your personal stress, leave your work at work, your home at home as best you can. Mindset shift, have that shift, delegate, and most importantly, relax, rest, and reward yourself. I think as women, we struggle with doing that. Let's dive deeper into boundaries. Your personal mission statement. I encourage everyone to have a personal mission statement, to write one down, and anything that's counterproductive to your personal mission statement, it has to go, right? So that's setting that boundary. Identify your deal breakers, train people how to treat you. I am a firm believer of saying what I mean and mean what I say. That alone, a lot of times, will set that boundary for you, because it's like, oh, Diane, she doesn't play that. She's on top of her stuff. We know that she says what she means and she means what she says. Demonstrate integrity, even when no one's looking, and create your own narrative. Most importantly, trust yourself and have the courage to say no, 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 no. No, that is a boundary setter within itself, right? So here are a couple of work productivity strategies. You want to track how much time you're spending on things, because we've already set those boundaries and we have a growth mindset. You want to take regular breaks, step away from your desk if you need to. Just pull back. Again, say no to meetings. Can this be a phone call or an email? You know, our calendars are filled up with a bunch of meetings that could have been an email or a phone call. Avoid multitasking. We've talked about that. That's going to help you be productive. Turn off the notifications, your social media notifications. Turn those things off, and be offensive for your day versus defensive. And when I say offensive, if you've planned your day the day before, like at the 4:30 mark, 4:45 mark, you wrote out, all right, this is what I need to do for tomorrow. You can walk in and have a clear picture of what your next day would look like. That's being offensive, and not on the defense, because if you do not control your day and attack it, your day is going to boss you around. Your day is going to control you. And guess what? That's not fair to you. The 2-minute rule for procrastination. Someone in the chat mentioned procrastinating. That 2-minute rule is essentially, if it can be done in 2 minutes, knock it out. Write down all the little bitty baby tasks that you have that needs to be done in 2 minutes, and go ahead and execute those things. Knock them out. Okay, so we have productivity strategies. Let's talk about collaborating with teams. Here are a couple strategies I found helpful. That's offering and requesting support. It's important to request support because you're not Superwoman, contrary to popular belief, and it's not fair to you to put all that pressure on yourself. And I'm being hypocritical because I struggle with that. But if you request support and offer it, it balances things out. Have frequent and healthy communications with those teammates. Share your goals and expectations. You can't assume that you all have the same expectations. That's not realistic. You want to identify your tech tools. Are we text messaging? Are we using Google Drive? Are we using a cloud? How are we all going to make sure that we're on the same page? So you want to identify those tools with your teams immediately. Set deadlines and timelines. Highlight people's strengths. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Elena. Great job on leading this project. I noticed this. So when you highlight your team's strengths and people feel appreciated, they typically will show up and continue to work, which in turn, if you're on a team, is going to help the team all together. So it's a win-win. Be open and flexible. Encourage creativity. One of my mentors, she uses this yes and strategy. So if there's something that you may not really agree with that method, or you would do something different, instead of the no, just say yes, because that's encouraging their creativity. Say yes, and let's add, etc. Whatever that thing is you want to add. Document everything. So those are a couple strategies with collaborating with teams. So while we're still under this counterproductivity vein, you will work with difficult people. I know that some of you have worked with difficult people. I know I certainly have. A couple strategies for working with difficult people is, first and foremost, to be cool and stay calm. Consider and try to understand their intentions, not necessarily their actions. They may have had different intentions and it just came off one way. Be intentional about building a rapport. because you guys may have a niece that has the same name. You know, you may live in a similar district. So if you're intentional about building that rapport, sometimes it's just to get to know you that disarms that difficulty in that person. So if you're intentional about building that rapport, you guys may end up being best friends. Not that that's what you're looking for, but you get what I'm saying. Focus on what you can accomplish. Let's not focus on that negative. What can we do? What can we do effectively? And sometime with difficult people, you're going to have to flat out ignore them. So if you need to ignore, just ignore them. In the chat, I would like for you to drop any strategies that you have used that's been effective dealing with difficult people. What were some of your strategies? How have you dealt with difficult people? Don't be afraid, drop it in the chat. As you all are doing that, I'm going to proceed with a couple of strategies for owning power. Because again, remember, the basis of the workshop is to get you to a space to own that personal power, the personal skills for professional success. Know your value. That's the first thing with owning the power, is knowing your value. What do you bring and how it contributes to the bigger picture and those outcomes. Because when you know your value, there's nothing that can happen that would have you question yourself because you know who you are. Acknowledge your ambitions and desires. What do you really want to do? Acknowledge those things. It's okay. Sometimes I think as women, we kind of shrink back, or or that people have that tendency to shrink back and not really embrace their desires and ambitions. It's not about bragging. It's about really knowing who you are and owning it. Let your manager know your aspirations and seek mentors. Let them know your boundaries. I love that. Let them know your boundaries. That is a great strategy. So seeking mentors and letting your manager know your aspirations, that's important, because how could your manager support you in the next department that you want to transition to? I mean, honestly, some managers are flat out haters, and they may not be as inclined to get you there. But then on the flip side, you may have a wonderful manager that is solely dedicated to your personal and professional development. So it's still important to be able to verbalize your ambitions, whether it's internal with a company or external. Seek your mentors. Mentorship is important. You all are a part of this wonderful business resource group. That is a great first step. I love the idea of focusing on their intentions rather than how their actions came across. Yes, I'm happy to hear that you love that. Replace negative talk with positive affirmations. That is a strategy for owning your power. Because guess what? We really can't control anyone but ourselves. Speak up and disrupt, ask for help when needed. And finally, to self-charge, relax. If you need to pull away, pull away. Owning your power leads to increased confidence and understanding how you can help others make decisions and achieve their objectives, right? Just helping someone else, it does not take anything away from who you are. Owning your power enables you to create and maintain strong relationships both in and out of the workplace. It allows you to stand up for yourself, negotiate for yourself, demonstrate strength while admitting when you're wrong, because it happens. It's just one of those things, but it's an opportunity to grow. Owning your professional power, it takes power to allow yourself to be vulnerable and compassionate without losing yourself in the process. And I think just my experience, I'm going to go off script a little bit, very work environments at times, it can be very workhorse-ish. And we got to be mindful that we're human. We can still wrangle our emotions, but acknowledging that those things do exist and being vulnerable it's important. The ability to be vulnerable and compassionate without losing ourselves in the process. So that is owning power. So I have to repeat this definition again, because this is the basis of identifying and owning the personal skills for professional success. That professional power is identifying and owning your skills, your goals, your strengths, and preferred work styles, and operating with emotional intelligence, mental toughness, and as the inspired version of yourself. That's exactly who we want you to get to be today. A couple other things for professional success is you can continue your education. participate in professional organizations like this. So you ladies are already a leg up. Improve your job performance. How could you be a better maximizer while you're in the workplace? We talked about those productivity strategies. Increase your duties and responsibilities. That's getting out of your comfort zone. So as you increase those, you're expounding your skill set, and having different skills is they're tools for your success. You can do some skill-based trainings, job assessments. You can get on your boss's calendar weekly meetings, figure out exactly how you're doing, solicit that feedback, and do not be afraid to get that feedback, because it's only going to help you grow. I'm going to leave about 12 minutes for questions at the end. So we're wrapping up here. It's 46 after. I hope this have been enjoyable and igniting to you all. A brief recap: we talked about mindset and mindfulness, the power and the importance of it, professional and effective people, those characteristics, identifying and owning your strengths. And again, in that handout, there are a couple resources to help you really jot down. And if you already know your strengths, that's awesome. Make sure that you are leveraging them. Make sure that you are cultivating them, your skills, for them to become strengths, your work styles and work cultures. There is a quick assessment on there too to help you identify your preferred work style. Stress and boundaries, we talked about that. A couple strategies on navigating that. Productivity, effective teamwork, and personal success. So thank you very much. We're right at 3:47. If there are questions, I would love to open it up for the Q&A. And Diane, do I need to turn it back over to you at this point?
I am back and have been listening all along. Thank you, Raquel. I don't see any questions at the moment. Let me just ask folks, if you have questions, to please enter them. And I actually am not sure, Elena, that I'm going to be able to see them because I don't have a question box. So maybe you can help me monitor the questions as they come in. Do you see any at the moment?
No, I don't see any questions that have come in yet.
Okay. So I'm trying to think about, I have about 3,000 questions to start with, and thinking about, you covered just so much wonderful ground. It was, you really were all over the whole discussion of mindfulness and achieving your personal strengths. I think I want to go back to this concept of intentional development, because in a sense, that's what we're doing today by having this webinar and having people be open to discussions just about themselves and thinking about their own styles. So what thoughts and suggestions might you have? And I think you did have a slide talking a little bit about joining organizations and other things, but can you just talk a little bit more about intentional development? Because I really love that concept, and I don't think I've seen those words used before.
Absolutely. So I have this really nice little painting here that says set every day, set an intention, or be intentional. Because when we're not intentional, we're just we have the ability to wander and be aimless. So for intentional development, that first thing is identifying those skills and what your true ambitions are without being fearful of that. So as you are identifying your ambitions, what do you really like? What gets you going? What are you really good at? Once you know that, then that intentional development is cultivating and fostering those things. So let's say if I really enjoy painting, on a very surface level example, and that's a hidden passion of mine, I know I love it, to develop in that area would be to follow the greats, read different literature that's tied into it. So it speaks to taking those steps to make sure you're honing in those natural talents and skills that you have. You can take courses, you can read blogs every day. For me, I have a cross between the mindset and the workplace. So to intentionally develop in this area, I need to know what's with the new languages on the day to day. I need to read different books or content or YouTube videos, or follow the people on LinkedIn that are in the lane that riding in the lane that I want to frequent. So that's essentially what intentional development speaks to.
I think part of the reason that that concept resonates with me personally so much is I think that for many of us, if we're very lucky, we're in a job that constantly is teaching us new things and stretching us and pushing us. And when I left my corporate career and started working for myself, I found myself bored. I found myself bored with myself because you know the things that you know the people that you know, and it's very hard to, as you talked about, breaking out of your comfort zone. And it's hard to recreate that constant development that happens in a very fast-paced job. So that really just very much resonated with me. It's almost like you have to put together a personal development plan that says, these are the 3 things I'm going to do this week that are going to either open up my mind or expose me to a different mindset or allow me to learn something new. Because and particularly now during times of COVID, I think that that's even more so because all of us are responsible for our environment much more so than in the past times. So it's just a really powerful concept.
Good stuff. And I totally agree. You have to write that personal mission statement. You have to, I'm a huge sticky note person. If I could show you my office, there are constant things around. So making sure you're stimulated and you're engaged. So intentionally setting yourself up in situations where it's going to trigger those thoughts or say, hey, I got to do this. So yes, ma'am. I do see a question in here. It's how do you
Okay.
build confidence and speak up when you are new or included in something that is foreign to you? That's really good. My current role, I am a project manager at a school district in addition to doing my own thing. And as a newbie there, so how do you build confidence in speaking up? The main thing is just to do it. Sometimes we overthink things. So I would be in these meetings and I had great ideas, but I'm like, oh, I don't really know anyone. I don't want to shut others out. I don't want to put a target on my back. And times I would just force myself to say it. Hey, just say it. So a lot of times it's just doing it. It's a matter of doing it, speaking up, and it's speaking up. Like, what do you have to lose? Like, you have to just kind of speak up and do that. And if it's something that's foreign to you, you can research it. This is a new platform, the GoToWebinar. Yesterday I looked up YouTube videos just to get acclimated with it. Small example, because I'm typically a Zoomer, so there are resources out there. Thank goodness we're in this crazy digital social media age. So just being on top of researching and just forcing yourself to do it. There is another question. I hope that was helpful. And Diane, did you want to do this part? I don't want to take
No,
over.
no, please go right ahead. If you can see it better than I can, that is perfect. You take that next question.
Okay, this next one is I've worked remotely because of COVID for the majority of this year, and I only started at this job in January. Wow. I'm on several calls with people all over the US and even other countries. Do you have any advice of how to grow rapport? I mainly bring up the weather or COVID, but ideas other than easy conversations to begin meetings with to work with relationships while working remotely. Yes. Prior to COVID, I was a newbie at this current role, and I would look at people's calendar. I know it sounds a little creepish, but if I saw an opening, then in real life, I would pop by their office and just, maybe compliment something or find something in their office. I think in a COVID world, you still can, because you'll have the email list of who you're talking with, and even if you preference it with, you know, I'm working to personally be intentional about connectivity. COVID has really taught me the value in getting to know my team. Would you be open to like a quick, it may seem weird, but would you be open to like a quick Zoom meeting or a quick go-to webinar? And then that, hey, I just want to do the face-to-face, how you're doing. And you could even do those sometime in place of emails just to kind of put the face with it. You may see something in the background that stimulates conversation. You may hear they have a pet, and then that's a talking point. So that's intentional, like being intentional, intentionally developing, if you will. So some of the people put the fear aside or maybe the discomfort and intentionally try to get on their calendar for like a quick video. I don't know how you feel about that, but that is one way to just kind of build that rapport. Look them up on LinkedIn. Find out things that, maybe they went to college with someone you knew that went to the same college. And then that could be a talking point. So I hope that was helpful. I know we have about 5 more minutes. Can you share your
If
mission
you get any
statement?
more questions, I thought that last one was particularly good because it is, you can't just walk down the hall and pop your head into someone's office as you suggest, and you can't say, can we have lunch? It really, you have to find virtual ways to do it. I think those were great suggestions. Do you see any other questions in the question box?
Yes, there is another that just talks about my personal.
Pick the one that you like.
Okay. I feel like that's pretty much it. The next one was just like my personal mission statement as a starting point. I affirm myself pretty often, so mine pretty much starts off as, "Hey Rock," which is my nickname. "You've got this. You're capable. You're confident. You're competent." And anything that's contradictory to it, cancel it. So that's just kind of an echo thing that I start off with affirmations. That's something that I echo to myself. I'm glad that was very helpful. So that's kind of like my statement. So you can define yours. Again, I hope the resources are helpful for you. And yeah, that's it.
If they want to know more about you, if they want to, you showed us the book and you said the book is available via Amazon. Is that what you said?
Yes, it is available on Amazon. Mhm.
So to help you promote, because we have such a huge budget, Raquel has done this out of the goodness of her heart. We have not paid her anything. So if you are inspired by the conversation, if she started some thinking that you might want to continue, please reach out and get her book. And is there a way that they can contact you if they want to continue a dialogue?
Sure. My website is RahkelShelton.com, and I can place that in the chat. I'm not sure if you ladies are social media people, but there's tons of inspo. Like, I live and breathe just inspiring people because it's dually rewarding. So you can follow me. Everything's at the website that's in the chat. So, and thank you, Diane, for mentioning that. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Well, thank you. We really appreciate you sharing your wisdom and the essence of your book with us, and really has given a lot of food for thought. So thank you so much for your time, and thank all of you for joining us. And I love that a lot of folks in their questions and the chat area have said thank you, meaningful, inspirational. So it sounds like you continue to inspire a bunch of people. So thank you so much. And goodbye for now.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.